there's seemingly a paradox or a contradiction. We're the same, let's say we're a human being. I have a heart, and I need, like everybody, to be appreciated, to be loved. I have an intelligence that can try to understand. And so, but on the other side, I have a culture, I have a language, I have a religion. So in many ways, we can be very different. Even when you see, even there's a difference between people across the channel. They're English, the way the English think, they're very much more pragmatic. French can be much more intellectual, idealistic, and so on. So we have to discover that we are different. We have different ways of thinking. We may be even the same words, but we put different meanings. So we can all be different, but at the same time, we are born to live, we're born to die. We're born to have sicknesses, we're born to be a success, but also we have all the other opposite. And this is what every human being, we're born with a mum, and we're very fragile. Every child, they're all the same. But some can be more sick or this or that. But yet the child is called to grow and to become more and more human. So we are the same, and yet because of culture, religion, education, and opportunities and so on, disabilities and so on, we're quite different, but fundamentally we're the same. I had a meeting the other day with 8 people who were Muslims, and 6 of them were in L'Arche. And it was really important for me to listen to them, to the experience that they have lived in meetings, that they have met people with disabilities. And as I listened to these men and women, 2 of them were almost theologians of Islamic thought. But somewhere we met each other, and our meeting was not, I am a Christian, you are a Muslim, we were discussing, no. I saw them just as human beings, giving me their experience of living with people with disabilities. And I could meet them, not because I'm a Christian, but I've lived certain experiences as a human being. So it's to meet each other. We can be very different, but we can meet each other. And in that meeting, there's somewhere mutual admiration, because you're a person. And you've met me as a person. So somewhere trust has been born. And the great problems of our times is when we don't trust people because they're of another group, they're of another religion, another nationality, and so we don't, and we have prejudices or fears. Whereas the important thing is to learn to meet, to admire, and see the beauty of the other person who doesn't want to change me. I don't want to change you, but it's okay. So I believe that to be a human person is to learn to meet people who are different. It comes somewhere in family, where we learn to love each other, husband and wife, children. We're different, but we're learning to respect each other. So it's a whole, we have to learn to become human. We have to learn to grow in understanding of people and discover that fundamentally we're all the same. I don't have to prove that I am better than you, and you don't have to prove you're better than me. But it's okay to be ourselves. But that is a long way to grow, to be fully human. In a way, we're all so busy, and there is a culture. And a culture where individualism, competition, rivalry, I have to succeed, and having to succeed, I can push people down. What we find people when they're in the level of this, what I'd call the tyranny of normality, of going up and up, then one day something happens. They fall sick. And then they discover that in sickness, they meet a friend. And they discover that maybe life is not just to be more powerful, and therefore more alone. But maybe it's about coming together. I'll tell you a story of, there was a man in New Brunswick who didn't like French Canadians and he didn't like Catholics. And he was mayor of the city and I remember when the bishop came to see me, he said, let's go and see the mayor, because he's in bed. You see, when somebody's in bed, you have no more power. The nurse comes and says, you must take your temperature. You become like a child. And then we can become like children together. Children together, they haven't got the prejudices, they haven't got the fears, they can play together. So, but we're in a world where we have to have more power, more this, more performance, more this. And we can learn also that the important thing is to have fun together. Work to be men and women who are peacemakers. That is to say, to be happy together because you are a human being. Let's learn to find places where we can meet each other, because everything is that. Of course, people can't all live together, but we can learn to become friends. We can maybe eat together, to have a consciousness that every person is important. Whatever their religion, whatever their disability, whatever their culture, whatever their capacities or incapacities, you are important. If we haven't got that fundamental belief that everyone is important and everyone has something to tell me, they have something about being human to tell me. So it's not a question of living together, but it's when we go and buy something in a store. How do we look at people? How do we speak to people? Do we smile? Or are we just there sort of feeling that I am better than they are all at my service? To realize that people are important, that every person is important. So my feeling is that we must create places where people can meet and discover that the person they had prejudices about or despised or think they were no good or thought they were stupid or whatever it is, these begin to drop. And I discover you as a human being, you discover me, and we find that there's something we are happy together. What I find is that I can say a lot of beautiful things and you can look at it and so on and say, isn't that beautiful? But if you haven't had an experience of it, then it doesn't make anything. You can say it's great for the people in L'Arche, it's great. It demands an experience where we see that entering into these relationships, into a meeting, we are changed, we become more human, and we help other people to change, and for them also to become more human. So somewhere there's the need of an experience, otherwise we're caught up in the tyranny of normality, in the whole element of a culture where I have to prove I'm better than you, where I don't have to. We can meet each other. Merci beaucoup d'être venu. On est bien content. Tout le monde me disait, quand tu as visité nos foyers, qu'ils ont beaucoup apprécié Martin. Ton sourire, ton écoute, tes yeux, toute ta personne. Et maintenant, je peux dire aussi ton chapeau. Tu as un beau chapeau. So it's to thank you, Martin. Thank you for coming, and it's been really good to have you. And we're sad to see you go. C'était très bon d'être ensemble, de vivre avec nous. Et je vous souhaite beaucoup de courage. Et puis, peut-être la chose humaine, c'est savoir parler avec d'autres. Pas juste sur l'Internet et les portables, mais de regarder dans les yeux, d'être un dialogue où il y a une rencontre à travers le corps, à travers les yeux, à travers les mains, à travers le visage. Nous sommes dans une crise aujourd'hui où peut-être il y a beaucoup de communication, mais pas toujours de la présence. Donc ça a été super que vous soyez venus ici à l'Arche et découvrir comment nous vivons, comme vous vivez à Ottawa. Donc, bonne journée et amitié à tout le monde.